Mentorship can change everything, both in business and life. And on this episode of Heart and Head Work, we're diving into how to find a mentor, how to potentially be a mentor, and why these relationships are essential for your growth. Mentorship is a fast track to success. It expands your belief system and it keeps you accountable. So tune in for some real stories from Tessa and I, practical tips and strategies you can start using for your business today.
Hi, Heart and Head Workers. Heads up that this episode contains a story about struggling with fertility and miscarriage. Please take care of yourself, and if you're sticking around, please enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Heart and Head Work, the podcast for women who want to lead with strategy and soul.
I'm Tessa, the people connector who embraces vulnerability and dreams big.
And I'm Rocky, the strategist who thrives on logic and turns vision into action.
We combined our superpowers and founded Maven, a community that empowers women.
Including Maven District, the largest collective of women-owned small businesses in the world.
This podcast is for women like you, building something real and wanting more than just business advice.
You'll hear honest conversations, practical tools, and personal stories about what it actually takes to build purpose-driven businesses.
If you're building with your whole self, heart and head, this is a space for you.
Join us on the journey.
We're back at it, Rock.
We're back to
Today on Heart and Head Work, we are going to be getting into mentorship, which is something I adore, and how to find a mentor and how to be a mentor.
Do you have a favorite mentor? If so, who is it? Share me a nugget. Give me some
sure
deets.
You're going to know exactly who I'm going to say.
Do you want me to say it and we'll guess?
3, 2, 1.
Lorraine.
Yes. Okay, so Lorraine Wright is...
Why do I even ask these
I
questions?
He's like, come on. She is a dear, dear human for me and somebody I met when I was... The first day I met her, I had just found out I was pregnant with my first daughter, Lucy.
Oh, I don't think I know the story.
Yeah. And I met her at a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business first session, which is a really big deal if you miss any because they want you to take it seriously. It's a free program. This is a great time to mention it.
I was just going to say, can you give some background on Goldman Sachs?
Okay, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program is a free program that's available in most cities, and there's online and rural options as well. But sign up for it. If you are an entrepreneur, it's like the number one program I recommend because it will take the fear out of owning a business. And when I did it, I was building Maven. Right, we had just knocked down maybe the first building, so it was a important time, and you basically get to do an MBA on your own business. And so I met this woman who was running the program, and she had like a chiffon like bun and a suit on, and I went up to her in the break in the very beginning, first day, 10 a.m. probably, and was like, I just found out I was pregnant. And I burst into tears, shocking, because the baby before this I had lost to a miscarriage. And I said, my doctor can fit me in. Are you okay if I run to the doctor really quick to check to see if this baby's viable? And she said, of course, dear, go. And from that moment on, she just has shared so much of her wisdom. And one of my favorite nuggets from her, it's just nice also, I think older, like people that have been through it that have access to the wisdom, not that you can't have mentors that are younger than you, but one of the reasons I love her, she's lived more life than me. And she says, sometimes we're here to live 1 or 2 lessons, and the lessons are like a bar of soap. And every time you experience that lesson, the bar of soap gets easier to hold. So the deeper you get into the layers of the lesson, the bar of soap gets easier. You can dust yourself off a little quicker and keep learning. So you may think you keep learning the same lesson over and over again, but in her opinion, that's really what we're here to do.
I love that.
I love it too. What about
Lorraine's
you, Rocky?
Great. So I dislike the weight in which finding a mentor or being a mentor has, I think, shifted into this idea of it's singular. So I really think that my husband said this earlier to me today when we were chatting about this, and he said, everyone is a mentor if you ask the right questions. And that is often the perspective I have of everybody. Every single person I meet at any moment in time in my life,
You can learn something.
Is a mentor, and I am potentially their mentor as well. That it is a constant two-way street, and you never really move on from those people. I used to have that perspective, like, oh, I've learned my fill from this person. And at that moment in time in your life, maybe, but there's always going to be another moment where it's like, oh, never mind, I need that. But some of my favorite mentors are actually, because I don't have them in the household, kids. I find their incredibly, and I mean this with absolute love, their simple view of the world to be one of the most impactful, like, reminders of, oh my gosh, we have complicated this so unnecessarily, and they can just distill it down into something really beautiful. Like, I literally remember a random child one time that told me, you're just like a really cool person. And it was like, well, you don't even know me. Like, how can you think that I'm cool? Oh, I just feel it. I'm just vibing with it.
And that probably made your day, didn't it?
And it made my freaking day, because it was like, they're probably tapped into some really deep energy that they can actually, like, feel, they feel safe or comfortable with me. And they are, one, feeling that. Two, they're not ashamed or scared to just blurt it out, which I always find incredible about kids. Also got to love hearing the hard shit from them too.
Yeah, they'll tell it to you.
You look really exhausted. Do you hate your life? How can you see my soul? Right. So, and I think I have the luxury, because I don't have kids, that often they're not something that I'm constantly interacting with. So they have just these incredible things to say when I'm tempted to listen. So,
yeah.
So now that we know that we have
Who your favorite mentors are.
Little 5-year-olds. Why do you think mentorship has been important to you as, like, an entrepreneur? Because, I mean, I can't say I've gotten any, like, nuggets of wisdom from a child in regards to business, but then if I think about it, like, you're really cool. And you should hire that person. They have a great personality. Mm-hmm. That type of, like, simplicity. So what do you think? Why do you think this? Why are we even having this podcast conversation?
I think there's a lot of fear when you own a business, right? And that's one of the reasons I mentioned the Goldman Sachs program, because it takes a lot of the fear from a tangible skill standpoint out of business. But there's also a lot of loneliness. So when you are scared and potentially lonely, but also feel like you need a place to answer, which maybe in your mind, dumb questions. They're not really dumb, because you've never done this whole piece of owning a business before, whether you're a new entrepreneur or one that's been doing it a long time. It's a place I go when I have questions. And sometimes I'm looking for mentors that are really skill-based, they're an industry expert in the field I have a question in. And then sometimes they're just amazing rad humans. When I'm in the muck, I want advice on how to get out of the muck. So I think that's why, for me, as an entrepreneur and fellow entrepreneurs that are either just getting started, I'm like, go surround yourself with some people that are in the arena and are doing the hard things, and get some help, because you're not supposed to do this alone, in my opinion.
I think it's fascinating, because what I'm gathering is, to some degree, my approach to mentorship is really passive. Like, the people in my life will just appear as needed, which is odd for me, because I'm not very big into surrender. I like to control things. but it's somewhere I actually don't actively look for mentors. And what I'm hearing from you is like, you are seeking out the help, similar to like a lot of the other things. You are seeking the knowledge, the sharing, the connection from other people. I tend to withdraw and like wait for it to come to me. So
And do your own research. I feel like you're a researcher.
Yeah, and do a lot of it, which, you know, is great, but it's still from the lens or perspective of myself, which can be very, very narrow. And I wanted to ask you, you know, for someone like me who struggles to want to seek a mentor, what do you... I hate asking for help.
Like you all can't see, but she's getting sweaty.
How do you develop and find and like get yourself in front of a stranger and then turn, can't even say this, turn them into a mentor so that I'm not just interacting with 5-year-olds, which for the scope, I'm just joking. Those are actually not my only mentors.
I know, but this is a great spot to start, right? It can take some of the fear out of this asking for help sort of thing. So I would say, what rooms are you naturally in? And if I find myself in a room with someone really that I have identified as, whoa, smart, I am going to probably go up to them at the end if I liked what they had to say and there seemed to be maybe some alignment, or maybe even not full alignment, but I was blown away with like, ooh, I want some of their smarts or their wisdom. I will probably go up to them after and really out of the blue, first you're going to probably say, hey, this landed really for me. Like whatever you said about this particular thing, this was really cool. And then I'm going to be bold and brash, and I'm going to ask them if I could take them to coffee. I may also say, hey, here's a snippet of background on me. I did this last summer at a conference in town that was on tourism, and the CEO of Priceline was there, and then the CEO of Traeger Grills was there, which is a local favorite. And I asked both of them for some advice. And that is pretty, I mean, they've managed and built companies that have thousands of people that work for them. And that's a pretty easy way to go after it. And then and if I'm feeling really brash, I'm going to say, can I also take you to coffee, or can I take you to lunch? And a lot of people may say, no, I don't have time, but they can often answer the one question. Right. So I might not get an entire time with them. And in fact, this Jeremy Andrus, he's awesome. And he did not turn into a mentor. So this is interesting. He's the CEO of Traeger Grills. It took me about 5 months to get on his schedule, for lunch. And I did have an hour with him. And this was, someone, I don't always have access to CEOs that, have grown their businesses to the size that they have and done it several times. And so I was like, I don't find a way 5 months. I'll do it. This is cool. And so I wanted to,
but you only get 1
I got
hour.
1 hour.
That seems like a heavy weight of,
yeah.
What the hell do you ask them?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big things you really have got to come in with a handful of questions. You might not get to all of your questions.
Like pre-organized thoughts on what you're...
Slightly, right? I needed to have an ask. I didn't have a big ask at the time. When I first asked him to meet, I did have a big ask. But because I didn't get into his schedule, it was something regarding hotel, because he used to be a hotel developer pre-Traeger. And maybe preschool candy. So that's his background. By the time I got to him and his schedule, that big ask had gone. But I asked him a couple things that keep me up at night. How do you decide, how do you measure your impact? How do you decide what to do with your time? How do you stay out of overwhelm? These are all things that I'm always trying to learn, because I really want to be impactful. I really want to change the world. I really want to be a human that is doing great things with their limited time here. And so I wanted to know from his perspective what he did. And at the end, I asked him, how do you decide who to mentor? Because obviously I was teeing up the question of, I want him to mentor me. And he said, I had to figure out a way to put boundaries around who I was going to mentor. And he has a list of 5 things that people must be able to have in order to get his time. And one of those things was they have to be in a direct consumer industry, selling a product, and with some, I don't know, remember exactly the few other qualifiers, and they must be a first-time founder or a second-time founder, but no multiple founders. And that is how he qualified. So the next piece of advice I would say is like, if this person says no to you, because he basically said, he didn't say it right out, but he was basically like,
but I love that his no is so intentional, which is what you're also bringing to the table. If you're pre-planning, making sure like you get this limited time with someone.
Use it. Use every second.
You can't be in celebrity like.
No, and you can't. I didn't want. He was really gracious and asked me, background on my business so he could give really thoughtful answers, and I didn't want to waste 1 second because I knew. He had an assistant coming in giving us like, hey, you've got 5 more minutes. Hey, you've got 1 minute. And so I was going to spend it wisely. I was not messing around.
Yeah. And that he's also probably why he's such a potentially great mentor is that he's also spending his time so wisely by, yes, I'm gracious enough to sit with you, but as a mentor, I have limited time too. Mm-hmm. So I need you to hit these qualifications so that I can determine if probably can I be the best mentor?
Yeah, and
because Traeger
like,
is those 5 things.
Right. He's like, can I be impactful for you? Because I was like, how do you judge impact? And he's like, I want to go narrow and deep, which is not always how I think, which is
no comment.
Jack of all trades, whatever. And I want to be narrow and deep, and I want to be a person who can really affect change in a fast way for them. And if I can't be that person, I'm not the right mentor for them. So that's like a piece of this too, is like, you may have to ask several people, whether they're 5 or they're 65 to be mentors. And it's not, I would stop taking it all personal. And if you were in a room with some big people, I would say like, get some gumption and take a leap, because you don't know if you're going to get a yes. And it was so cool to be able to just have an hour with that level of CEO. That's rad.
How do you come up though? So like, I'm still sitting here thinking, all right, how do I develop big questions that I'm going to apply to a mentor?
Well, I think it depends on where you're coming from, right? For me, I was like, these are my big things that keep me up at night. So
actually that re-sparks it.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. I always ask this question actually when I used to do consulting for business strategy. It was the quickest and fastest way to get to big problems. And in the minutia of being an entrepreneur, you have so many small problems that stack up. Life is not narrow and deep. Life is broad and shallow. That is how we spend most of our time. And the question of what keeps you up at night would force someone to come up with like, well, that's like really meaty. That's like a heavy weighted question. What does keep me up at night? And most people can actually answer it relatively quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, if you're going after a mentor that's like an industry expert, then your questions may be really industry focused. Like, hey, we just opened a hotel, and I would love some help in regarding how you staff night staff and how you do that. That is a very specific question that isn't maybe this big, huge question, right? But some insider knowledge.
It's not like the topics on this podcast. It is
but some insider knowledge of like, how do we hire that person? What do we pay them? What does that look like? Then that is something that is equally important than me going after a big, huge question too. And it really, so I think it depends on like what you're working with. There are plenty of times, I know, one of my other mentors, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love Leo.
He'd sit down and I would take him to lunch, pay for his lunch. And one time we went to a cat cafe, which I love. That's where he wanted to go because he loves cats. And he was like, all right, what's the question for the day? And he would answer one question, and we would be there for never more than probably 75 minutes. And he's a big time consultant, but also a Pilates lover. So he worked out at our studio, and he came up to me one day and said, I've got some feedback. And then we just started going to lunch for several years, about once a quarter. And
So
I would
he-
go to him with
he
big
approached
questions.
you.
He did, but he was approaching me with like, hey, I here's some ways I think you could do it better. And I was like, all right.
But you know what? I love this because I think sometimes our natural inclination when someone gives us feedback is we put on the fear mask. This is judgment. This is criticism. That, like, right, all your worst demons come up from the surface, and you can't actually hear the opportunity that is being given to you.
Yeah, I also knew how smart he was. And so I was going to drop my ego real quick about like, yeah, Wharton School of Business, and you work with these huge corporations. Okay, you just got back from Nike. Great. Yep. Would love to take you to lunch.
Well,
so I think
sure.
that's a piece of it too.
Yeah,
It's
that
like-
Leo's impressive, but what if it's the the customer who is not, you don't have any background on, you don't have any scope of, that could potentially be giving you this huge nugget of information that could shift your whole business. And it has nothing to do with this formalization of a mentorship that we are necessarily seeking. It's that reminder that in all these little places, you could have someone really incredible giving you something.
Yeah,
really
I mean, I think that goes back to
meaningful.
your outlook on mentorship, right? That every mentor is a mentor. Every person is a mentor if you ask the right questions. So I'm going to say curiosity. One of our values at Maven is going into those conversations, especially if this feedback piece is a piece with just a bunch of questions. How'd you do that? How'd you do that? There's someone I'm working with right now who's a graduate student, and she's in a really tech forward field. And she's like, oh my gosh, how do I break into this industry? What do I do? And I'm not in tech, but I have friends in tech. So a lot of what I'm doing, she's asking, how did you find your purpose? Okay, what does purpose feel like? Let's talk about purpose, even though I'm not in tech, right? And then as our relationship has developed, I had set the tone, and her business school had also set the tone of like, hey, the mentors are going to come with questions, and they better use their time wisely. You better show up on time. You better have some questions, and then you better follow up. So I had offered some intros, and I didn't do them right away. And I was like, you better follow up because I'm probably going to forget.
This is like the teaching how to be a good mentee.
Yes.
Like, make sure that you
Yes.
you do not embarrass the person who introduced
The
you.
school. Yes.
Yeah. But also that you are not just respecting their time and taking their time, but you're making sure that you're acknowledging, I'm here, you're here for me. So I need some appreciation, and I like this idea of paying it forward.
Yes. The pay it forward is something we talk about a lot at Maven. We have this beautiful Brooke Smart mural. She's a really cool children's book illustrator. And we were telling her about Maven and what we do here. And the idea is that oftentimes women are so great at community, and they will lift someone else up, and then that person may lift them up. And then when you get to where you're going, you turn around and lift someone else up. And that's like always advice I give to mentees is like, hey, they're like, how can I repay you? I'm like, I don't want to be repaid. You don't need to buy my lunch. You're a student. It's okay. Let me buy you a lunch. But I want you to pay this back to someone one day, because this is just like, I want, in particular, women to have more power. So I want them to turn around 5 years from now, 2 years, I don't care, because you don't have to be old to be a mentor, right? Like, you just have to maybe have been through something the other person hasn't been through.
New business idea. Sit down with 5-year-olds that we've collected so that they
Come
can
get
analyze
mentorship.
your business and give you the unexpected design, all the information that you didn't know you needed. But guess what? This 5-year-old knew.
Did you ever sit down when you lived down in Salt Lake and sit down at the farmer's market? Old guys giving advice.
Yes.
Free advice. It's worth for what you pay. And they were hilarious. Tony Caputo, RIP. We loved him so much. And he would sit there with a bunch of his friends, and they would just give advice. And that's essentially what a mentorship is. And you don't have to be far along in your career. In fact, I set this woman that I mentioned, the graduate student, up with someone who's only 3 years into her career, but it's in a place of the industry that she wants to be in. So I was like, call her, ask her what it's like.
Yeah, this is cool. Did you know that we had a question from the audience?
Yes.
I'm always absolutely
thank you, audience.
Thrilled and filled with gratitude. It is, how do we know when we're ready to be a mentor?
What's your answer to this?
I don't fucking know shit.
I know.
So
I
can't possibly answer that question.
Yeah, I think this is I actually think you'll just get asked, like, when you're ready. You don't have to. I guess there's certain ways you can seek it out. There's different programs out there that are like. There's one I was involved at the YWCA or through the Women's Business Center, where they will ask for specific backgrounds or career experiences, and they'll be looking for mentors. And I was doing that way before any of where I'm at now. I mean, I was probably 30 when I was starting to do that. But how much does a 30-year-old can teach a 22-year-old who's just entering the career? So I think oftentimes it finds you, but if you really are interested in it, there's a lot of places like when I was 23, 24, I was doing Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And just being there for little kids and holding space for them is like, that was a first place that I just loved giving back to, and like a mini version of being a mentor, because you can be a mentor for kids, and then of course they're turning around and teaching you these lessons that during that time, Big Brothers Big Sisters was unforgettable. I will never forget some of the lessons that Jasmine, my mentee, taught me.
Yeah, I feel like that would be the summary of my answer, is that you can't seek it, which is why I said, like, I don't know anything. And if in fact you are in a space where you're like, I am ready to be a mentor, you may want to check that ego about where you're actually coming from, because you might be doing it for yourself. And the whole idea of mentorship is really about giving back and making impact for others. And this is
go volunteer is maybe that answer then. I think what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giving back in some way.
Without attachment to the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when you can make a real difference, because you don't know what they're going to do with this information. It's not up to you.
I think it's important that we give you guys some key takeaways while you're going about your day listening to us. And one of those big ones is that mentorship is huge, because it can accelerate your success. It can push you into different spaces of understanding. It's a perspective shift. It's all these amazing things, and you will benefit just as much as your business will benefit from mentorship, because you are mostly, as an entrepreneur, your entire business. And also just don't forget or don't remember. It's your choice. Mentorship doesn't have to be formal. It can come in really unexpected ways, and often that is sometimes the most impactful. I think it would probably be very important that you listen to the subtleties that are around you, because they can be easily overlooked. But if you are going about it in a more formal way, this is a relationship. You got to build it. You got to put in that energy, be intentional, respect that person's time. And my favorite takeaway from what Tessa said was to pay it forward. I think that is probably going to be like one of those. And
say thank you. I think that goes a long way. And, I think most people do, but I think that's like, just be gracious, right? Like, we took time out of our super chaotic schedule to spend time with you, and, use the time wisely.
Lesson for life.
Then pay it forward. Say thank you.
Lesson in life, even if you're just ordering a coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pay it forward. Cool.
We did it.
Another episode.
Wow.
In the
can.
I was going to say
in
books, video bank, logs, vloggings. The internet has welcomed us, and we are staying. They let us in, and we're not going anywhere.
But here we are. If you want more of us, join our Geneva.
Who wouldn't?
I know. join our Geneva community for women entrepreneurs by clicking the link in the episode description and follow us on Instagram at maven.community. We're committed to growing this community of women entrepreneurship and everyone who supports that mission. So join us on the journey. And if you liked this, please share it, rate it, review.
Tell your friends.
And then tell us what you want to hear about. This is for you. So
also feedback, mentor us. Make this better.
We can take it, although we are going to do a show on feedback. Absolutely.
Oh,
must.
Show on everything at this point.
Love you, partner.
Love you too.